Hey there, fellow wanderers. Imagine, if you will, the evening settling over a medieval town. The air grows thick-laden with wood smoke, spoiled bread, and the sharp sting of waste. The stalls creak closed, the laughter fades, shadows deepen. You're just another silhouette now barely noticed, easily ignored. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the life of a medieval beggar where the world passes you by. And every scrap, every glance, every coin tossed or not, is a reminder of how little stands between you and the dark. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. In a medieval town, the nights are darker and more daunting than we are accustomed to today. Despite the cloud of uncertainty that hangs over you, there's a certain rhythm to the life you've known. As you wrap these experiences around you like a blanket against the cold, remember, they are as much a part of you as the stars that blink sporadically above. The night echoes with the sounds of a world slowly retreating into itself, and you find solace in the solitude. With the sun now a distant memory, the streets become your stage. There's an almost absurd festivity in the way the city sighs a reminder that you thrive in this apocalyptic orchestra. It draws you in, wrapping you gently, despite its rough and unforgiving nature. Historians still argue whether these nights were seen as treacherous or simply another facet of survival. You, however, prefer to think of them as moments of unexpected tranquility. So before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. Gazing towards the horizon, thoughts naturally drift to the morning to come the endless cycle of securing enough food, enough warmth, enough kindness to carry through another day. The marketplace will again be bustling with its own brand of chaos, enfolding smells, sounds, and the color of countless lives intertwined. But for now, wrapped in the quiet cocoon of night, you're left with the simplistic beauty of a world at rest. The slumbering town holds stories older than memory. Crumbling turrets and patched rooftops are silent witnesses to the countless feet that tread these paths before you. Many were like you, seeking solace, survival, perhaps even a sliver of hope on these ancient streets. And you carry that shared history with every step, as much a part of this land as those who rest beneath its soil. Remember when we talked about medieval superstitions? There's that old fear that nighttime reveals more than just the stars. The wind carries whispers, and if you listen closely enough, you might just hear tales spun from shadows, a reminder of the unseen histories that hover just beyond the edge of your seeing. It strikes you how, across time, some things never change. We all walk through our own darkness, peering toward light, enduring for just another chance at the dawn. But that, my friend, is a story for another night. As the moon climbs its silent arc, you lie back, letting the sounds and stories of old wrap around you. Relax now, for as long as this darkness holds, so does your escape. The luxury of rest is yours to claim. The fireflies dance their silent ballet, and the wind hums a lullaby older than the stones beneath. Close your eyes. Let sleep take you where dreams are woven from the tapestry of night. And so begins this journey of survival, hardship, and the small, fleeting joys of the medieval beggar. Rest well, knowing the night holds you gently in its embrace, whispering secrets of bygone days. You trudge along the cobblestone streets, with the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon. It's cold, and your layered rags provide little protection against the morning chill. The medieval town awakens around you, but for you, it's a continuation of the struggle that defines each day. As your footsteps echo, you ponder the persistent question that dominates your existence: how to survive today's embrace with poverty and uncertainty. The marketplace looms ahead, coming to life with the clamor of merchants setting up their stalls. The clinking of metal and clatter of wooden wheels turn the square into a stage of barely organized chaos. Among the sizzle of cooking meats, the shouts of sellers promoting their wares, and the laughter of children playing nearby, your heart races. The market is both an opportunity and an endurance test. You must navigate these vibrant scenes with care. Approach too aggressively when seeking alms, and you're shooed away with scorn and a clip around the ear. But slip by silently, unnoticed, and you leave empty-handed. The fine balance you maintain each day is both a skill and an art form, honed by necessity. It's in this environment that the first historical fact of the day makes its appearance. You remember how the Middle Ages saw the rise of guilds and tightened social structures. Beggars, lacking the protection or patronage of such associations, fell into the cracks. They became outliers, often perceived as societal lepers. Guild members had rules and codes of conduct, their mutual support networks reinforcing their trades, while beggars were left to the harsh whims of societal judgment and exclusion. Among these uncertainties, your eyes catch sight of a street performer, a juggler. The performance draws attention, providing a fleeting distraction. In his rhythm and flow, there's a touch of mischief. The juggler knows where to stand, how to time his act to draw in coins. It's a quirky reminder that even in the most constrained of economies, some still find a niche that allows them to thrive, at least momentarily. Your belly rumbles, and the baker's stall nearby taunts you with its fresh bread aroma. It feels almost cruel, this benign torture of being so near yet so far. Moving closer, you hope to catch the baker's eye before he disappears into the back room. You know your chances of acquiring a loaf, no matter how meager, depend heavily on this moment of eye contact, a universal language that silently pleads for understanding. Historians still argue whether medieval beggars could rely on any form of systematic charity. Almsgiving was often motivated by the giver's desire to gain spiritual favor, more so than genuine compassion. So you linger, poised between action and hope, uncertain whether today goodwill will shine upon you. With patience, you weave through the market's maze, keenly observing the ebb and flow of its dynamics. Children dart between stalls, their playful shouts a stark contrast to the somberness of your task. At times, they remind you of shadows cast from a brighter sun, living embodiments of what was lost and what may never be. Perhaps you recall tales of Robin Hood and laugh quietly to yourself, a gentle sarcasm coloring your thoughts. Certainly you've met no merry men doling out surplus to balance the scales of justice. The reality, as you know too well, strays far from romanticized legend. Real life is weighty, and it clings to you like a cloak of unshakable doubt. Underneath this facade of vibrant life lies your silent struggler duality, hidden in plain sight. In a world that bustles with commerce and barter, your primary currency is resilience. This is the real trade that keeps you moving, propelling you through each nuance of the day. Eventually, the light dims, and merchants prepare to close. The act of survival isn't yet complete, but you find a small corner to rest, your mind briefly entertained by the thought of what new tales tomorrow might bring. Another day is conquered with its tribulations, and you carve your niche in its relentless routine. Perhaps tomorrow the baker's loaf might find its way to your hands, or perhaps not. But this game of daily survival continues a story unique to every beggar's world, yet shared by all. A world couched in both desperation and hope, mirrored against the everyday tapestry of a medieval marketplace. The marketplace has transformed into its own type of cacophony as daylight spreads its gentle warmth over the town. You navigate its bustling symphony, where each note signifies promise, risk, or toil. The clamor of daily trade gives the market a life of its own, an unpredictable rhythm pulsing at the heart of medieval society. The sounds reach a high note as merchants shout over one another, their voices rising like a tide, each pitch fine-tuned to convince potential customers of the undeniable merits of their goods. Fishmongers boast the freshness of their catch, their words mingling with the guttural calls of livestock. The irony isn't lost on you. In a world of abundance, a beggar's silence is deafening. It's your shadow that slips unnoticed through the clamor. Yet amidst this tumult, you recognize your own symphony, a series of negotiations played out daily in the silence between coins that clink into weathered cups. You listen intently for the tone of a merchant snapping shut his purse, or the quieter notes of absent-minded generosity. The market is a theater of human expression, desire, ambition, fatigue. Each plays its role under this open-air canopy. Historically, medieval markets were centers of trade, but also information exchange. They represented a microcosm of the broader economy, yet were accessible in immediate and tactile ways. Here, stories were as much the currency as gold. Threading your way through the market, You become a chronicler of these sounds, the tales of goods fair and foul, grudges old and fresh voiced between competitors. As vibrant as this auditory landscape is, a peculiar note catches your attention: the hollow clang of a bell. It's an unusual sound for the market, enough to draw curious glances. You spot a group of travelers gathered around a storyteller, his theatrical gestures capturing their attention. His tales weave a narrative of distant lands and inconceivable creatures, a song story as vivid as the colors of fall every time his cloak billows with a dramatic gesture. This theatrical distraction sheds light on how entertainment found its place, even in the hardest of lives, a respite from the grind of daily subsistence. But not all notes are harmonious. Occasionally, sharp edges cut across the tapestry of sound. A trader scolds a child for sticky fingers, the boom of his reprimand echoing in contrast to the soft whimper of protest. Laughter follows a joke shared between rivals, their temporary camaraderie acting as a salve for competitive tensions just bubbling beneath their grinning facades. These are the nuances hidden in the layers of market sounds, an overture told in bursts of chuckles and frowns. It's among these complex melodies that local suspicion also brews. Rumors, like mist, rise and retreat. And in that suspicion lies your world. Historians still debate the nuances of medieval trust, whether markets acted as equalizers or instigators of skepticism. For Beggars, it is ceaseless navigation, playing to the symphony while attempting not to overshadow it. You maintain a subtle presence, aware yet invisible. This invisibility is both an asset and a shroud. It offers protection, but reinforces the magnitude of your distance from those who pass by with full hands and bellies. Moving cautiously, you learn to read the signs, the quick glance, the open stance, interpreting these cues like reading sheet music. With each undertone and overlay played to your ears, it's a reminder of how adaptive you become in this life. Your senses tuned to filter the blend of humanity's most basic and complex. The soundscape of the market is your operating system, as essential as the soles of your feet upon stones, aged by countless footsteps. As the day fades into dusk, the merchants begin to wind down. Their once boisterous calls have mellowed to gentle closing rituals, their stall shutters meeting wood with soft final thuds. The market dissolves into memory until morning light revives it once more. The sounds retreat into the night as another chorus awaits you, resting in the promise of dawn. Your footsteps once more accompany the whispers of evening breezes, the melody of the marketplace lingering in your mind, sustaining you through another day's journey, a reminder that amidst the noise, your voice, though silent, has the power to endure. The marketplace, now a shadow of its bustling self, lies quiet as its echoes slowly fade with the retreating sunlight. But even in this temporary calm, an insidious tide looms, a silent, invisible danger woven into the fabric of medieval existence. Disease. You trudge toward the shelter of an abandoned corner, mindful of this ever-present specter that colors the backdrop of your life with shades of uncertainty. It isn't merely the plague that haunts the town's cobbled streets. Filth and waste clutter the margins of alleys, untreated, left as menacing harbingers of ailments, yet unnamed. A faint, acrid smell drifts through the air, a reminder of how sanitation remains an unfamiliar concept. As you wrap your threadbare cloak tighter, there's a chill that isn't just from the night air. The spread of disease in medieval times was as much a mystery as the stars themselves. Knowledge of germs or microscopic life was non-existent, and people lacked an understanding of how sickness traversed like a silent, sinister shadow across communities. Without modern science, they attributed illness to cursed air, divine punishment, or sometimes treachery. People avoided others with symptoms, casting a wide berth, but unknowingly spreading contagion through close contact. A mainstream fact springs to mind. While noble households had their remedies and apothecaries, you, a beggar, remain exposed, vulnerable to every cough and sneeze. Medical attention, though primitive, is costly and reserved for those with the means to afford it. Street remedies and superstitions mingle, a hodgepodge of beliefs where leeches and herbs work in tandem with whispered incantations. And yet, amidst such a background of ignorance and fear, quirky practices emerged. You overhear an old wives' tale, a curious fringe tidbit, about how tying feathers of a chicken to wounds could draw out disease. It brings an almost whimsical smile to your face, for in its innocent absurdity, it speaks to human creativity in the face of relentless adversity. You peer into the gathering dusk, reflecting on the inner-city chaos left by recent outbreaks. Miasmas thought to arise from decaying materia loom as ominous clouds over these medieval quarters. The smell of death often lingers longer than the life it claimed, and that persistent, unsettling odor weaves itself into the town's identity. Historians still argue whether societal responses to outbreaks were driven more by panic or by attempts at systematic understanding. Between purifying fires lit in the streets to larger prayers uttered with more urgency, the medieval psyche stood on the precipice between faith and desperation. For you, vulnerability is not a choice, but a condition that defines your existence. As a beggar, it becomes intimately intertwined with your struggle. Even those who might offer alms today could become too weak to do so tomorrow, an endless cycle driven by forces all too great to comprehend. You learn to navigate not just the physical landscape, but the emotional one, where fear and compassion wrestle silently within every individual. And yet, life persists, even thrives in small acts of defiance against the darkness. A nearby family shares stale bread, offering a momentary reprieve. The simple act of breaking bread becomes a meditative ritual, reminding you that the warmth of kinship can still emerge from the depths of despair. Offered with both hope and caution, this gesture is as necessary to your survival as the air you breathe under the pale moonlight. With each breath, your senses pick up the subtle nuances that signal possible threat-serrant noise or a chill unexplained. To sleep is to place trust in a world that understands neither kindness nor mercy, yet somehow finds room for fragile kindness. So, you settle carefully, cocooned against the universe's whims, drawing comfort from resilience embedded in every fiber. The moon rises, casting its indifferent glow over the sleeping town, your thoughts drifting toward the morning's challenges. Disease may remain the silent adversary, but it has not vanquished life's persistent flame. You drift into slumber amidst nature's choir, a distant lullaby carried on whispers of knowledge yet unknown. The town sleeps, shielded beneath the star-strewn sky, a quiet testament to survival, etched in dreams and memories that defy the darkness. You awaken to the pale light of early dawn filtering through the ragged edges of your makeshift shelter. As you stretch your limbs, the chill seeps into your bones, reminding you that protection against the elements relies heavily on your clothing, a patchwork of survival stitched together with ingenuity and frayed fabric. Clothes are more than mere covering. They are the armor you wear against the relentless medieval climate. Each piece tells a story, composed of scraps and cast-offs, handed through countless lives before finding their way to you. This morning, the familiar smell of damp cloth hangs in the air, a tactile reminder of the ever-encroaching moisture from cobblestones kissed by fog. You pull the tattered cloth closer, such layers stand between you and the biting winds that threaten with each gust. In medieval life, your social standing often dictated the fabric wrapped around you, and for beggars, the options were limited and harshly frayed. The wealthy could boast vibrant, color-exquisite dyes and fine textures, softly crafting a sartorial symphony. Your patchwork ensemble, however, is curated from the odds and ends that others deemed too worn, too faded. A mainstream historical fact lingers in your mind as you adjust your attire. Wool was the everyday fabric in medieval Europe, a material that offered warmth and was somewhat water-resistant. It enveloped both nobleman and peasant, though with levels of quality worlds apart. Yet, in its common use, wool transcended cultural and economic boundaries, soft steps binding the rich tapestry of society with its sturdy, reliable threads. As you adjust your makeshift cloak, you're reminded of a quirky fringe tidbit beliefs held by some that specific patterns woven within fabrics could ward off evil spirits or attract good fortune. It's charming, this notion that your clothes might guard against more than the bitter cold. Such superstitions transformed the mundane act of dressing into a ritual painted with hope. Historians still argue whether medieval clothing signified more than status, whether it represented personal story, resistance, or simply survival. For you, it's clear that each piece retains a fragment of personality, each rip and tear a battle scar of sorts. The nuances of fabric weave your life's tapestry, one that keeps you over the line between enduring and succumbing. With your attire quieting the early chill, you step out into the morning bustle, eager to capitalize on charity's ephemeral whispers. Stray threads catch in the breeze, and you pull them close, embracing their familiarity and the peculiar comfort they offer. Elsewhere in the marketplace, laughs and gestures speak to confidence rooted in sturdier garments, layers that enforce their owner's social standing. Yet, you become the invisible man donned in shades of grey, a master of blending, self-preservation and art honed in the light and shadow of medieval towns. Careful movement is your default, ensuring that each hint of fabric anxiety is soothed by strategic placement or pin. You seek the corners, shadowed havens where insight dwells amidst the chatter. That said, medieval beggars possessed subtle power, though. Your Clothinga testament to resilience allows entry to places where sympathy holds court, unlocking doors to alms offered perhaps in exchange for salvation. Or at least, this is what you tell yourself as the sun meanders across the sky, a soliloquy of golden rays dancing on the city's rooftops. You encounter another figure, similarly attired, and share a quiet nod of recognition, a belonging birthed of mutual struggle and distant bond. Here, in the fabric of life's patchwork kaleidoscope, lies humanity's deeper connection, empathy woven between strangers, overthreaded by adversity shared. Reminded by this, you adjust your motley cloak, adopting a gentle dignity that rises with each step. By midday, the sun warms your spirit, the market a cavalcade of colors against your muted ensemble. A smile tugs at your lips, bolstered by the knowledge that invention spins from necessity, and your cloak, feeble though it seems, is a testament to life's enduring spirit. As the edges of the day creep closer, your thoughts turn pragmatic. You study those around, recognizing the subtle sartorial codes that give structure to this medieval symphony. To decipher these stories, clothing intertwined with purpose, the person as much shaped by the fabric as the fabric by the journeys it once made. As turquoise twilight descends, you relinquish the day's scramble, tucking garments closer like tender memories held tightly. Another day survived against the odds, a testament to resilience and patched dignity. When stars reclaim their celestial dominance, you let darkness enfold you, melding its velvet embrace with threadbare sanctuary. Here, cloaked in shadows, you find brief respite, reflecting fondly on the simple act of clothing yourself against the night. As sleep beckons, you understand that beneath this tapestry of frayed edges lies a truth more durable than cloth or circumstance, the indomitable human will to survive. Amidst dreams, you pull the fabric close, heartened by the warmth of stories yet untold. As the sun rises once again, painting the medieval town with its golden hues, you're greeted by an overwhelming tapestry of scents. Welcome to the medieval streets, where the aromas are about as varied as a painter's palette, a bit less artful, and a whole lot more pungent. Today, the air seems heavy, embraced by a fragrance that is neither flower nor fruit, but something earthier and less refined. The stench offends your nose before you even realize you've crossed into its embrace. It's the unique perfume of daily life, in a time when sewage systems were dreams left for the distant future. Mixed with the crisp morning air, you detect the remains of last night's meals, and refuse stretching languidly along rain-dappled alleyways. For one living on the margins, such is the aroma that both beckons and warns. You follow the pathways where the refuse clings to cobblestones, with the grim tenacity of weeds through cracks, guided by distant cries of kitchen maids and street vendors. The air is layered, revealing sharply distinct notes. The tang of unwashed bodies mingled with animal droppings, overlaid with hints of wild herbs and smoke. The smells weave a type of sensory mosaic, as real and rich as any tapestry. The historical fact remains indelible. Medieval town planners rarely considered hygiene a priority. Open sewers ran through the streets, and human waste was often discarded without care for neighbors downstream. Imagine it. If you will, the sights and sounds are only half the story. It's the personal stench that lingers, tattoos imprinted by time's strong hand. Yet, there's a quirky tidbit in navigating these aromatic landscapes. Some townsfolk tried to combat unpleasant odors with sweet herbs and flowers. During the hottest summer days, handfuls of petals would be cast into the streets in a futile attempt to mask the acrid air, adding a comedic bouquet to the otherwise dour daily routines. Historians still argue whether medieval cities were worse than rural areas in terms of stench, or whether familiarity softened noses over time. For medieval beggars like you, inhaling the city's fragrant tapestry was an occupational hazard, one inevitable as breathing itself. You become accustomed to it, to the olfactory quirks that define habitation within these cramped environs. As you wander, the smellscape transforms, with each corner turned, evolving through the spaces from the softer notes of bread, baking to the acrid tang of tanneries. Closer now to homes and hearths, you catch the pleasant aroma of onions and garlic browning over open fires, simple foods that hold memories within their essence. It's a rare delight in a world that offers few and a sensory reminder of the inner warmth held within communal gathering. But your day requires more than scavenging for aromas. As you seek sustenance, glancing around corners for a bakery crumb or butcher's discard, the volatile bouquet of city life needles at your persistence. It's not just an external challenge but an internal one, forcing senses into temporary accord as you navigate toward kindness is small enough to be cradled in compassionate hands. By noon, the sun steams away some of the morning's damp. A struggle persists between air and earth, the hope for fresher air, for invigorating winds unprecedented in that constrained space. The marketplace swarms with life, each stall its own fragrant cacophony competing for dominancia chorus, both sweet and sour. This whirlwind of scents, at times, becomes part of a beggar's story. For without words, it creates a narrative of expectation and disappointment, of fleeting abundance intermingled with chronic deprivation. They are memories captured through breath, ephemeral as morning mist clinging to the heart's recesses. As the day leans into evening, a subtle shift occurs. The smells soften, mellowing with the cool dusk air, a fading serenade to the sun's descent. You breathe deeply, imagining a world wrapped in the fragrance of nocturnal hums, where stars cast bigger dreams than mere survival. With nightfall, you find respite in the shadows, where silence overlays on the smellscape like a comforting blanket. The very air seems to whisper, bidding the day farewell. You let its gentle cadence guide you to rest, cradled by scents of whispers, of winds untraveled, and dreams unsung, a testament to another survived day, as fragrance becomes familiar, less foe, and more an aging friend. Night yields to dawn, casting a soft golden light over a town that has yet to awaken fully. In the faint haze of early morning, the cool air holds a delicate calm, a whispering promise before the day's chaos unfolds. As a medieval beggar, you tread carefully through this temporary peace, acutely aware of the ever-present authority that shadows your furtive existence. The law. The legal frameworks of medieval towns are a tangle of ordinances, decrees, and sometimes outright whim. These laws are as unpredictable as the temper of the mayor's wife are fickleness, that casts a wide net across those who dwell beneath their reach. You move with caution, your steps practiced in avoiding the constables and their sharp-eyed scrutiny. The town crier's morning proclamations echo through narrow streets, mingling with the early birds calling their persistent song. A historical fact etches itself into your consciousness as you maneuver through narrow lanes. The distinction between necessary control and cruel punishment often blurred in the medieval mind. Legal codes could be oddly detailed, yet subject to interpretation, particularly regarding beggars, vagrants, and the poor. Punishments for offences, real or imagined, ranged from fines to public humiliation, or worse. Society followed its own kind of cruel logic, one that parlays fear into feigned order. And then there was a peculiar twist. In some towns, beggars actually became informants for city officials, trading information for a modicum of protection. Such quirkiness underscores the unexpected layers in medieval society, where your very presence, whether adorned in deference or derision, could be leveraged like a pawn on the chessboard of city life. Historians still argue whether these legal systems were more about maintaining order or reinforcing societal division, but for you, they are simply an omnipresent weight, an obstacle in a labyrinthine survival game. You've learned to discern the unofficial rules, those dictated by human nature rather than codified in dusty manuscripts. You understand that all it takes is one irritable official on a particularly bad day to significantly alter your fate. As you pass the village stocks, you're reminded of their dual purpose, punishment and deterrent, each wooden pillar a testament to the medieval obsession with spectacle. Today they stand empty, though their silent threat is no less palpable. It's a relief not to see a familiar face trapped within their unforgiving embrace, derided by gawking crowds. For many, the stocks are a public stage for shame, reminding onlookers of their own precarious position, just one misstep away from ignominy. In your evasive dance, you encounter others like yourself, shadowed partners whose paths intertwine in moments of mutual inconspicuousness. You share nods and knowing glances, aware that the same laws force you into a vagabond brotherhood of society within society, defined by its defiance of the visible structures surrounding you. But there are moments of unexpected humanity among the shadows. A constable, known for his brusqueness, pauses to toss you a coin discreetly, softening his expression just briefly. It's a reminder that even within rigid systems of power, small acts of kindness flicker like candles against a gusty wind. Moving toward the edge of the marketplace, you see a crowd gesturing animatedly. A demonstration of laws freshly inked into existence, or perhaps a novelty of less dire consequence, a traveling singer or an animal trainer capturing rare attention. Such gatherings bring officials as often as they do soldiers of fortune, and you give the gathering a wide berth, propelled by a quiet wisdom earned through experience. By nightfall, the streets fall silent. Yesterday's legalities whispered between narrow houses, blotting out the stars' gentle glow. Across the town, you sense a familiar harmony softened by the vestiges of brief humanity. Notes strummed from chaos mingled with law's sharper, more punishing chords. As sleep enfolds you once more, you wonder at the delicate paradox of freedom within this constrained existence. The moon graces your thoughts with its steadfast light, a quiet vigil over a medieval realm hemmed in by both fortune and filigree. You wander through dreams across starlit passages, footfalls weaving stories caught between the realm of law and the triumph of survival, the echo of hope rising with the first gentle whispers of dawn. As dawn emerges with its gentle embrace, a familiar silhouette towers above the clustered rooftops the church, with its spire pointing serenely toward the heavens. It stands as both fortress and beacon within the medieval town, steadfast in its role as a guardian of souls. For you, the church reflects a complex relationship, teetering between sanctuary and suspicion, a duality that influences much of your wandering life. The swell of morning bells begins to echo across cobblestones, heralding another day of divine purpose. The sound envelops the town, casting an ethereal quality over the beginning hours. To the devout, these chimes are a call to commune with the divine, but to beggars like you, they signal something equally profound: the potential for charity. The historical fact, without dispute, is that the church held immense power during medieval times, guiding the spiritual and moral compass of Christendom. Within its hallowed walls lay the promise of alms, assistance given not so much from compassion, but from ecclesiastical duty. This duty, akin to an unspoken agreement with the needy, shaped interactions with those invisible in society's eyes. Yet, seeking such charity is seldom straightforward. It requires navigating whispered prayers and the watchful gazes of clergy who oversee the church's earthly assets. Outside the church, however, lies a more whimsical tale to uncover. Quirks of superstition slink through stained glass and stone, inviting tales of miracle springs and relics possessed of unexplainable powers. Among them, the belief that bells rung in worship could drive away evil spirits, purging both town and soul of unseen ills. This idea, strange yet comforting, infuses mundane rituals with a shimmer of divine magica, rich tapestry of beliefs you nonetheless view with open skepticism. As you slip into the courtyard, a few faces turn away, while others offer muted greetings. It's an open, scholarly debate whether these mixed reactions reveal underlying community tensions or the simple humanity of those caught between judgment and compassion. For many churchgoers, offering a coin stands not as an act of vanity, but of vanquishing guilt, cleansing as much as seeking connection. Within this sacred space, the divide between revered benevolence and begrudging duty stretches across the stone floors like a tapestry of contradictions. You spot familiar faces, fellow beggars drawn here not by piety but by necessity. Together, you form an unspoken congregation outside the church's stained glass sanctum, each seeking communion of a more practical kind, the mercy of food, cloth, or the gentle warmth of acknowledgement. Jostled by faith's rituals, you submit to the cadence of prayer and sermon, guiding you through unfamiliar liturgies. Time shuffles slowly beneath the church's vaulted arches, but as the service concludes and a sparse crowd begins to disperse, you position yourself strategically in the courtyard. It's a practiced dance that relies as much on timing as faith itself. Among departing parishioners, a kind-hearted soul pauses, pressing bread or a small coin into your weathered hands. There are moments when grace flows with the sincere acceptance of both giver and receiver, a quiet acknowledgement of shared humanity. Today, such moments are fleeting yet precious, anchoring you amidst the abstraction of sanctity. As the sun rises higher in the sky, casting golden light upon stone carvings and stepping delicately across frescoes, Your relationship with the church remains as durable as the stones that comprise its structure, built from necessity, sustained by hope, and rendered immutable by time's steady passage. With grace's echo whispering through rafters and pews, you slip away, heartened by the day's fragile bounty. Each step wrapped in the gratitude of solace, you navigate toward shadows and paths less divine, more human. When dusk closes its gentle shadow upon the town, you regard the day with measured acceptancy, a tale woven between sanctuary and skepticism, faith in charity matched against the pragmatism of survival. The bell's final toll lingers in your memory, ringing through whispered dreams as stars cast their quiet eternal vigil across an ancient sky. At another night that holds you in its embrace, where leathered hands meet stone, telling tales without words of times yet adored. As moments fade into darkness, you hold in your heart the ties that bind faith above and realism below, navigating dreams that flit across eons and beliefs unfathomed. In a world layered with paradox, you rest your head upon these ancient stones, assured only in one certainty: tonight's dreams and tomorrow's dawn will greet you anew. The twilight embraces the medieval town, casting shadows that seem to dance and flicker across ancient stones. It's as if they hold their own secret lives, these shadows much like the superstitions that thread through the consciousness of the townsfolk. As beggars navigating this world, you are often ascribed roles by these very superstitions, casting you not only in shadow, but suspicion. Among the avid storytellers who gather by the town square as night unfolds, tales of mystery and caution circulate like cherished relics. Whispers converge about the beggar who could see visions, about the destitute widow reportedly communing with spirits. In such stories, truth is a woven tapestry with threads of fiction and fear. Superstitions weave themselves into daily life as inescapably as the wind in an autumn storm, their influence both pervasive and peculiar. Here's a quirky tidbit for you. Some believed that beggars possessed a kind of second sight, able to predict misfortune or hidden truths, as though poverty tuned their senses to the ethereal realm. Such tales offered both intrigue and wariness, assigning powers that were at once fantastic and dangerous. Armed with these woven narratives, you pass through side streets, careful with each step over cobblestones that have whispered many secrets. Around corners, children cast sidelong glances, furtively making a protective gesture warding off any ill omens you might bring. This action, defensive in nature, strikes you with its both comical innocence and dampened acceptance of legends carried through generations. Historians still argue whether these superstitions functioned as societal controls or were vestiges of older belief systems, woven through pagan roots and channeled by folk memory. Regardless, you recognize them as part of the landscape, bound as tightly as the stone walls that line these narrow paths. Their influence skitters in and out of focus, touching lives with hands both unseen and unrelenting. Among those you encounter, some avoid your gaze entirely, fearing the gaze of a beggar holds within it curses or blessings unknown and untempted. You understand that for many, distancing themselves from such perceived powers is their only defense, a fragile line drawn between the mundane and the enchanted. In your silent ruminations, you reflect on how such beliefs curiously empower and isolate you. For some, our stories lent an air of mystique. For others, they cast us as pariahs to be circumvented. You wear this dual mantle cautiously, knowing it can easily shift with mere suggestion. As you continue your path through town, you sometimes hear the older folk mutter tales of omens based on the direction of a beggar's gaze. Cross paths wrongly, they say, and prepare for crop failure or a sick child. These narratives shape your world, an endless dance on a stage invisible but definable in these shared beliefs. True, you've seen everyday miracles woven from the simplest acts of kindness, whether it's the warmth of bread or the simple nod of acknowledgement. In a tapestry where superstition threads run deeply, such moments are extraordinary, each flicker imbued with more power than the most enthralling fable. And so, the flavors of superstition carry you into the gentle hour of dusk, a motif of stories, shadows, and whispers bound to you as inevitable as breath. There's a delicate trust within the dance of staying hidden, yet known, mysterious, yet ordinary, a delicate role, played out under the watchful stars. As night unfolds, their legends continue their tireless journey, whispered between shelter and flung lantern light. Placing your back against a wall of ancient stone, you wrap these tales around you like a well-worn cloak, not content with the familiar cadence. It cushions and cradles, a companion to lull you into slumber, where dreams merge with superstition, spinning realities and possibilities across a medieval night's watchful silence. The sun rises, casting its warm golden light over the medieval town, and the day stretches before you like an empty plate, yearning for nourishment. Food, this simple element of survivalist, a constant thought tugging at the corners of your mind as you navigate the waking streets with quiet determination. While foraging through the remnants of last night's feasting, your world is filled with the aromas of possibility, each scent a reminder that for beggars, acquiring sustenance is a relentless quest. The sights and scents of freshly baked bread, roasted meats, and bubbling stews drift from open windows and bustling market stalls, teasing your senses and igniting a hunger that grows with each wafting breeze. These tantalizing aromas, however, are separated from you by the unyielding barriers of status and wealth, a grand banquet from which you are forever excluded. A mainstream historical fact becomes evident as you make your way through the crowded marketplace. For medieval townsfolk across Europe, food was not just sustenance, but a symbol of social standing. The wealthy could afford the diverse bounty of meats, spices, and imported delicacies, while the rest made do with the basics, often little more than bread and pottage. For beggars like you, even those simple offerings are a prize, their acquisition a triumphant victory hard fought. You approach a baker's stall, the aroma from the warm loaves curling into the morning air with tantalizing grace. The crusty bread, golden and inviting, embodies the simple yet elusive fulfillment of your day's quest. You position yourself nearby, adopting the discreet stance known to pull at the heartstrings of kindly souls. If fortune smiles on you today, perhaps the baker will part with day-old wares, a small charity that transforms into a sustaining meal. Among the vendors selling produce, cured meats, and cheeses, a curious practice glimmers among the intricacies of medieval life: gleaning. After the harvest, even the wealthiest farmers might allow women and children to scour the fields for leftover grains and produce. It's a quirky tidbit of generosity in a world where abundance for some brushes closely against scarcity for others. You know this practice extends to the market as well, where crops surplus or damaged are sometimes abandoned at day's end rather than sell at a loss. Unofficial gleanings for the hungry. As you make your way through the market, you observe the symbiotic dance of bartering of goods, exchanged with determination and fair disagreement, of haggling voices wrestling with commerce under the dawn. There is both poetry and hustle here, drawing a smile to your face despite the hunger gnawing at your insides. Historians still argue whether these public market exchanges fostered community spirit or magnified social division. You ponder this as you maneuver through the crowd, joining the cacophony of life, striving to disappear and remain visible simultaneously, a beggar's clever balancing act. The sun ascends, casting a sharper light across the cobblestones, illuminating the textures of food as true art, undiminished by a laborer's hand or vendor's stand. You glean what you can, whether through appeal to those who remember lessons of charity woven through religious teachings, or simply unguarded moments of benevolence. Your collection may be meager: a few soft apples, a half loaf of bread perhaps, and yet strung with gratitude. These morsels reflect a greater banquet when shared later among those who share in your plight. As midday approaches, the marketplace hums a different tune, its vibrant overture shifting toward restive whispers as stalls empty and close with promise of return. Satisfaction warms you from within, not just from the handful secured, but from the enduring belief that these small victories sustain more than body. They hold together the delicate web of will and resilience that drives your narrative forward, day by day. With the sun casting its final glow across the medieval horizon, you retreat to a familiar corner to share your bounty, a content communion against the fading light. Each bite sings of triumph against the heavy shadows of hunger, a testament to survival's intricate dance across the woven tapestry of medieval existence. As stars peek through the darkening canvas above, dreams beckon from beyond the realm of hunger, carrying promises both new and renewed. The food gathered today becomes more than sustenance. It transforms into hope, warming you against the medieval night, a night far gentler now on the strength of those hard-won simple delights. The medieval town, draped in the light of another dawn, begins to stir with life, and as a beggar, you carry the invisible weight of society's contempt. While each day begins with a renewed quest for sustenance, there's something more insidious that follows you, a shadow of social ostracism that clings tightly, molding to your presence like a second skin. As you step onto the bustling street, familiar faces avert their eyes. Conversations continue over your head as though you're a ghost haunting the living. It's a dance you've come to know well. The steps of avoidance, the shuffle of feet skirting too close, the unspoken language that demarcates the haves from the have-nots. The medieval world is defined in part by such social strata, where even glances are measured and weighed. In daily interactions, you feel society's edges sharp against you, a reminder that in medieval times, one's identity is tied inextricably to their role and status. A mainstream historical fact is the rigid, hierarchical structure of medieval society. Every individual has their place. From monarch to serf, each bound in the mosaic, where loyalty and fealty intertwine with life's daily grind. Except you, the beggar, dwell on the periphery of this structure, neither fully inside nor out, a fringe existence caught between compassion and contempt. Even children, with eyes yet innocent and earnest, mimic their elders' attitudes. They peer with curiosity, practicing the art of dismissal directed at those considered beneath their notice. The looks that pass between adults become insurmountable walls erected around you, and you navigate these social constructs with the knowledge and precision of a seasoned cartographer mapping unmapped terrain. But even among such stark divisions, you encounter glimmers of divergence. There's the kind-hearted baker who sees not a beggar, but a hungry soul in need of sustenance. In these rare exchanges, you find solace, uninterrupted recognition of shared humanity and empathy that transcends societal bounds, a whimsical tidbit shared with a smile or nod. For every dozen disdain-filled frowns, there's one fleeting moment of connection that lingers, promising that the human spirit persists amid adversity. As you pause in a village square, familiar stories brush past a beggar's presence, some argue, serving as a moral reflection for townsfolk. Historians still argue whether this systemic disregard arose from deep-seated fear of poverty itself, or as a reflection of societal values calcified over centuries. Either way, it contributes to the overwhelmingly rigid landscape you must navigate. Amidst this environment, where glances and murmurs form the architecture of your world, you've adjusted to life played out in shadows on stone. Sometimes you wish to reach through these veils, to engage directly, but societal taboos ground thoughts of self-advocacy like untamed birds longing for the sky. Instead, you move with guarded purpose, insightful strategies honed over time. You walk among whispers of lives unseen and untold, adapting to echoes of solitude, a testament to life's resilience amid rampant indifference. The alms you receive during your journey offer small triumphs, each born from the uncertain blend of distrust, social duty, and benevolence. The day progresses, and the sun bathes town squares and narrow alleyways in a soft, languid light that casts new life to familiar shadows. As evening draws nearer, the streets gradually quiet, the bustling energy retreating into domiciles, where warmth flows freely and social lines are redrawn behind closed doors. Resting beneath the night's vast canopy, the town wraps you in its chorus, a blend of insects' hums and night birds' whispers. And as you sleep, you dream of a world no longer defined by the margins or the walls erected by society's gazier world, where barriers dissolve into fragility, and recognition flows like water wending through stone. As the stars twinkle stories untold, you wrap darkness around you, letting rest fall gently upon the hardship of the dire beggar not merely surviving, but enduring against the quiet chorus of another medieval night. The churn of seasons brings with it the shifting tapestry of hardships that define life as a medieval beggar. Each changing season paints its own challenges across the medieval landscape, and your journey is one marked by these transitions where the rhythm of life ebbs and flows with the capricious whims of nature. As spring unfurls its tender blooms, the world seems to briefly exhale a sigh of relief. Longer days stretch ahead, shedding the dark and understanding warmth that has long been elusive. Among the hayfields and gardens, the air is sweet with renewal, whispering of hope and new beginnings. Yet, as a beggar, you understand that such tenderness is fleeting, a prelude to struggles anew. The abundance of spring, tantalizing even at the periphery of your reach, soon transforms into distant memories with the first whispers of summer's intense heat. Summer arrives with stark contrasts, where the sun's relentless gaze can be unforgiving as often as it is life-giving. The heat turns cobblestones to griddle, searing your worn souls through paper-thin barriers. The medieval town hums with energy, its pulse quickening beneath the sun. Sunlight dances through streets, and yet amidst this vibrancy, your reality is one of managing inescapable thirst, seeking shade like a refuge, and relying on the charity of others for fresh water and sustenance. The medieval world buzzes with activity, but for you, the days blend into a torrent of seeking solace from the sun, while chasing whispers of breezes through stone and shadow. Among the townspeople, summer's abundance reveals itself, the markets overflowing with lush produce, offspring of fertile fields nurtured by warmer months. Historical evidence tells us of commoners relishing in the bounty, savoring the rich harvest. But for you, such abundance often hides behind the facade of social stratification. The hottest months of the year seem to cast longer shadows of disparity, and you navigate these days as an invisible wanderer, yearning for the hatched fruit of benevolent hands and the cool respite promised by evening. With the fading summer light comes the arrival of autumn, when the world is cloaked in shades of gold and ochre, as if nature itself seeks coziness before the inevitable descent into cold. It's a peculiar time, tinged with both harvest celebration and preparation for the starkness of winter. The medieval town draws breaths of amber earth and roasted chestnuts, aromas wrapping the air in a familiar cloak. Gathered resources, harvested grain stands proud like cavalry called to arms. But for beggars, those reserves remain as elusive as peninsular borders on ancient maps. Among this mix of plenty and pointed exclusion, you become acutely aware of the cooling temperatures, hinting a forewarning of winter's approach. You remember those historians still debate about the extent to which autumn provided beggars with heightened opportunity, or simply foreshadowed the endurance required for the coming season of scarcity. For you, autumn becomes a time when each provision gathered is doubly valuable and provides a safety net beneath the weight of approaching winters. And so it comes, winter, creeping quietly at first, unwrapping its icy fingers with a slow precision that settles over medieval towns like an imposing cloak. The air grows thin and brittle, and each breath exhales a silvery mist. The sun remains low on the horizon, casting sparse warmth over a ground frosted with a crystalline sheen. Your struggle becomes one of finding warmth against these relentless waves of chiller nocturnal battle against winter's lethargic embrace. Snow, too, might lightly dust the town's rooftop, each flake a memory locked within its frozen geometry, as it settles upon cotton thread bare feet a tapestry, writing stories of the season. Allegiances form anew, as open kitchens and chapel halls extend sanctuary against the bone-deep freeze. The town's stone edifices retain bitterness during this period, whispers of warmth gone dormant for the season, relegated only to dreams when night closes in. But spring will come again. It always does. As day follows the night, so too does life through winter's grasp turn with the world once more towards that waiting bloom. In each season's particular dance, you recognize their rhythms both as adversary and ally, lending both moments of quiet joy and omnipresent challenge. For with each turn of the wheel, the triumph of survival signifies no less than an ever-renewing hope. And as you lie cocooned for warmth against the shiver of night's descent, you dream of risen sun and reborn fields. Encased in tales spun by the seasons themselves, reminder etched in the breath of stars across an ageless sky. Yet another night, where your heart beats strong beneath the sentinel of changing skies, bound by destiny to revolve with the earth's gracious grace. In the medieval town's ever-evolving landscape, where each day unfurls with the promise and challenge of mere survival, the presence of children adds a layer of complexity to the tapestry of existence. Young beggars, often lost amidst the bustling life, bear witness to the stark realities that define their world. As day breaks over the cobblestones, you find yourself amidst a cohort of these small wanderers, children navigating the same uncertainties with a resilience born of necessity. Life for a child on the streets unfolds in shades of muted adventure and peril. Their laughter, though rare, echoes with a unique poignance through narrow alleyways, a bright contrast to the muted grey of their surroundings. Childhood games by day played with stones and sticks mask the cruel lessons learned too early. For these young souls, survival is an unforgiving tutor, etching wisdom into youthful eyes with each passing day. The age of innocence appears fleeting, as the demands of poverty shape futures prematurely. A mainstream historical fact emerges from this narrative. While childhood, as a distinct phase of life, was less formally acknowledged in medieval times than today, children, whether of peasants, nobility, or beggars, were expected to grow into roles that contributed to their household's survival as soon as possible. As such, the line between childhood and adulthood was often blurred early, especially for those whose livelihoods afforded no indulgence of carefree days. In the town square, you watch as a group of children gather, forming an unspoken alliance. They are drawn together by a shared understanding of their world and innate awareness of the fragile threads they cling to for warmth, nourishment, and friendship. Their fleeting camaraderie, forged by common circumstance, is a patchwork quilt against the chill of social indifference. The older children naturally take on protective roles, shepherding their younger kin through the daily matrix of possibility and peril. And within these brief glimpses of fraternity lies evidence of a quirky survival strategy. Medieval beggars' children sometimes devised whispered places of learning, making use of whatever space and time available to benefit from the knowledge shared by passing scholars or travelers. Whether under the covert tutelage of a kindly friar or through observing the village's guild workers, these encounters planted seeds of hope and small revolution. A fascinating paradox in the delimitation of childhood imagines that scholastic dreams transcend even the most daunting earthly anxieties. Historians still argue whether medieval society actively discouraged beggars' families from integrating, or if an unspoken social contract offered them means to carve out a precarious existence. But as the young beggars grow alongside their varied stories of familial belonging, they carry with them a defiancia belief that survival is its own rebellion, and that change, while incremental, is possible. Amidst the quiet hum of merchants and pedestrian chatter, you see their playfulness as something more as theatre, a dance upon cobblestones threading joy through adversity's drab fabric. You see it in their eyes, in their dreams whispered aloud under watchful stars, visions of escape or transcendence that float like dust motes amid everyday air. Yet as quickly as these moments manifest, so too do they dissolve, called back towards practicality, necessity, and the seriousness that life demands. For even the harshest realities are kinder with companions to share them with. A child's role as both learner and shoulder is a weight shared collectively, its burdens lessened through connection, its rewards all the sweeter. As evening stretches into twilight, you take a moment to appreciate the resilience of youth carved into the expression of these young travelers. As stars unfurl amidst a deepening blue canopy, their adventures have ended, but only for today. Tomorrow holds the promise of new discoveries forged in cobblestone and companionship. For tonight, they rest with dreams cupped gently in handcrafted nests, as if cradling the warmth of nascent firelight against the hissing night, and you too are warmed by their courage and hope. As the medieval shadows encircle another day, you hear their timeless laughter mingled with dreams of tenderness, drawn from the wrinkles of ancient skies. Let sleep weave together tales of camaraderie and defiant joy spun beneath the same silvered moon, till dawn summons you both across centuries, a quiet witness to stories yet untold. The glow of dawn spreads over the medieval town, casting long golden shadows as the world awakens from the embrace of night. As the town begins to bustle with its usual rhythm, you prepare once more to navigate the day, ever attentive to the myriad faces that populate your narrow avenue of existence. Despite the somber moments and the uncertainty of survival that defines your life as a beggar, there are bright moments that pepper the day's acts of kindness that arrive unbidden, unexpected, like whispers from an unseen grace. As you position yourself in a familiar spot near the market, perhaps seeking the solace of familiarity amidst the sea of unknowns, your attention catches on the gentle smile of a passing stranger. Her clothes are simple yet well cared for, a reflection of a steady, modest life. With a nod, she stops and presses something into your hand, a small, warm loaf of bread. The simple act of kindness carries with it the warmth of human connection, an assuring reminder that empathy threads itself through even the hardest of circumstances. Such encounters, though rare, lift your spirits like a buoy against the tide. Historically, the charitable obligations driven by religious teachings guided some medieval townsfolk to practice almsgiving, not only as a moral duty, but as an act of spiritual self-preservation. Giving alms, was a reflection of piety, a gesture that blurs the line between compassion and obligation. Its motivation varied and complex. Stepping away from the marketplace, you reflect on how the eclectic tapestry of humanity unravels rapidly. Yet, poignant moments materialize amid these fleeting gestures, like poppies in a field of thistles. Sometimes acts of kindness appear in forms mundane yet profound: a shared glance, the reassuring squeeze of a shoulder, or a coin clinking softly in your hand. They teach you that even amid the direst conditions, generosity reveals glimpses of renewed hope, transcending societal constraints. You pass a nearby church, where a selfless nun quietly tends to the sick, her humble dwelling acting as a sanctuary for those in need. In these spaces, the spirit of charity lives undaunted by judgmental tale, woven into a broader narrative where humanity and faith are inextricably linked. Historical texts often recount such figures as beacons within their communities, small havens of reprieve against life's impartial storm. There's also a tinge of whimsy among these experiences, a quirky fact etched into the norms of another time. In certain towns during festivals, people engaged in acts of elevated largesse celebration of shared abundance, a communal outpouring that saw food, drink, and entertainment provided for all, regardless of social standing. It's during such blurring of lines that society's kindness rose above its own suspicion. Historians still argue about the driving factors behind these acts, whether they emanate from inherent altruism or were motivated by the anticipation of divine reward. But for you, the recipient of such moments, the motivation becomes secondary. What lingers and uplifts is the act itself, a testament to the multifaceted incarnation of human kindness. The day unfolds gently under another sunset, the sky brushed with the soft glow of an artist's palette. As stars begin to punctuate the dimming expanse, you hold these moments close, folded carefully within your thoughts, a reminder that life's brightness persists amidst turbulence, that humanity's spirit prevails even amid desolation. Under the silver twilight, you seek solace among companions, wherever they may be, beneath trailing vines, within shadowed doorways, cradled in nooks where worldly dust mingles with dreams. In that slowed tempo, you internalize the day's gentle joy, a quiet celebration imprinted across the ages. For these are the threads of kindness woven into the fabric of existence, reminders of our interconnected journeys that are as ancient as the bones upon which we tread. Rest comes more easily when cradled by such reflections. As you close your eyes, the promises of another day whisper of light-born possibilities, carried by those same stars that shone over timid wishes and grateful smiles half an epoch away. This medieval world, wrapped in mystery and shadow, now cradles your heart with the soft quilt of compassion woven both past and present, stitched by each light and touch of love. The break of day brings a pale light over the town, a gentle illumination that reveals worn paths and renewed challenges. Yet, amidst the slow unraveling of dawn lies a particular anxiety that dogs your every step, the ever-looming concern for personal safety. As a medieval beggar, each day finds you navigating a landscape punctuated by potential threats, a game of evasion played out beyond the line of sight. The streets, while bustling with energy and commerce during the day, can transform into treacherous thoroughfares when shadows lengthen, and the town's less savory elements emerge from hidden corners. The town square, market alleyways, and narrow side streets each contain their own risks, a reminder of how adversity can manifest not only in hunger but in human form. Historical records show us that medieval towns were no stranger to crime. Thefts, brawls, and other misdemeanors wove dark threads through the fabric of town life, leaving citizens perpetually wary. Laws existed primarily as reactive forces, their protective embrace mostly encircling the privileged, leaving those on society's fringes to extend their own safeguard. And as a beggar, you bear this grim reality with caution, assessing every shadow, every approaching silhouette for threat or safety. Evenings are when your senses sharpen the most, honed by necessity's hand. An innocuous stroll might rapidly evolve into a dance of a different sort, of sidestep from confrontations, or escape from those who perceive your presence as a taunt to their tempers. You walk purposefully, yet with an aura of invisibility, ensuring paths remain clear and interactions kept brief. There is a poignant absurdity, a whimsical strand in this script of caution. Some nights, a stray dog or a cathedral's wayward cat might unwittingly become your unlikely companion, their nonchalance calming in a way human presence fails to replicate. You let tentative purrs and barks break the night's tension, solace gained through interspecies companionship, a curious tidbit of medieval companionship. Alongside such whimsy, a familiar thread emerges. Historians still debate whether the medieval streets were patrolled with genuine intent to maintain justice or as mechanisms for reinforcing social control. For beggars, the resulting distrust was earned not merely through direct encounters, but echoed through stories and whispers that recast the town as a tapestry woven with caution and unpredictability. Amidst the backdrop of uncertainty, you develop ways to ensure safety, a repertoire of allies inhabiting twilight realms or dawn's threshold. Small gestures, a nod here, a whispered promise there, become mutual pledges of protection exchanged among fellow travelers. Together, you navigate whatever lurks beneath the moon's watchful gaze. At dusk, you return to your few trusted haunts, shadowed alcoves, where stone walls form your fortress against the night. It's here within these familiar enclaves that you forge intangible defenses, inner citadels constructed from self-reliance, awareness, and shared understandings. Tucking yourself into the fold of familiar walls, you balance caution against the luxury of rest, recalling a day's worth of encounters. You exhale deeply, releasing tension stored in muscles constantly alert, and close your eyes as the night sounds soften into a lullaby. In embracing sleep, you allow dreams to paint visions of tranquility, while the stars above maintain their steadfast vigil. You understand safety is a relative concept, shaped as much by routine as by shared communion with others drawn together by the night. As the medieval sky encircles another passage, thoughts drift upon whispers of resilience, sowing its timeless tale. And as sleep enfolds you, caressed by the gentle embrace of starlit guardians, you look forward to dreaming of places where personal safety is no longer elusive, where peace holds fast against the spectre of doubt, and night keeps its promise of calm to hearts untroubled by fear. The eastern horizon blushes with the first hints of dawn, painting the town in shades of awakening promise. As you gather your meager belongings beneath the fading stars, your thoughts turn to the notion of travel, a necessary facet of life. As a medieval beggar, travel offers both hope and hazard, a perpetual cycle that alternates anonymity with the brief relief of new opportunities. The scene is set for departure, the cobblestones still cool underfoot as you tread the path winding away from the town and act, reminiscent of countless others before you. The roads that stretch out toward the unknown are the veins of medieval existence, pulsing with traders, pilgrims, and wanderers in search of their own destinies. But unlike these travelers bound by purpose or pilgrimage, your journey is dictated by the tenuous threads of survival and chance. Historically, journeys undertaken during this era weren't just fraught with uncertainty, but also peril. Highwaymen lurked along trade routes like shadows, their schemes nestled in the dense forests and hidden passes that defined the medieval landscape. The fear of such encounters looms over you, a reminder of the world's unpredictability, ever poised just beyond the breadth of the tree line. Yet, there's a quirky aspect to these travels, an irony laced with adventure. Some towns have established beggar badges, a kind of permit that offered an official, if limited, sanction to beg. While these badges sometimes granted passage from one town to another, they also marked you in society's books, adding an air of legitimacy to your otherwise illicit itinerancy. In moving through various settlements, exchanging tales with fellow travelers, you experience the rich tapestry of tales and traditions woven across this time-worn landscape. You learn to read the trails like living maps, understanding the various wayfinders, secret symbols, and markers left by those who walked before. These serve as guides and silent storytellers, an enduring conversation uniquely preserved. To avoid unnecessary danger while traveling, you adopt the role of listeners tuned to tales of danger as well as celebration. Taverns become transient sanctuaries, where news and warnings mingle across every passing table. In the flicker of firelight and shared ale, even strangers share kinship, misfortune a common bond among travelers of all stations. Historians still argue whether these gatherings cultivated community along pathways or acted only as way stations for weary bodies. To you, each village or crossroads is an invitation to touch base with humanity, a pause that refreshes both body and soul, and where fleeting friendships awaken amidst the shuffle of boots and hooves. The journey, too, offers moments of serene intimacy with nature, Amidst the rolling hills and verdant forests, footprints left by time lead through valleys where wildflowers flourish in bold defiance of worldly chaos. You savor the tranquility found between towns, exhilarated by the land's textures, a poem written in stone, timber, and wind. As the sun climbs higher, marking another passage of day, you approach a new settlement, its silhouette against the sky, adding yet another chapter to your unfolding narrative. Here, you hope to find fortune on paths untraveled. Every town you enter is both a fresh beginning and a repeat performance, requiring quick adaptation and instinctive navigation through social nuances anew. With dusk enveloping the horizon, you settle in for the night, the journey having etched itself into weary muscles and feet. The campfire's glow illuminates familiar faces and new allies alike, as shared stories weave through the crisp night air like ancient incantation. Wrapped in a warm anticipation of new possibilities, sleep offers a sweet surrender, inviting you into dreams that transcend boundaries created by roads traveled and those yet to be. As the stars cast their quiet beams, you find solace in the shared constellations above, guiding lights for the restless, sojourners tied to ways both old and eternally young. In their luminous echoes, you drift further into rest, lulled by the whispers of paths unseen, carried upon the ribbons of dreams unspoken. As dawn unfolds delicately over the landscape, the medieval town begins to stir with the morning's light. Yet, despite the gentle awakening of another day, a persistent shadow lurks, the spectre of Epidemic, a grim visitor that holds the power to reshape lives with its indiscriminate grasp. It is a looming threat that permeates every aspect of existence, casting a pall over even the sunniest morning. The atmosphere is heavy with an unspeakable anticipation, as if the townsfolk can sense an unseen presence threading itself through the streets. In a world where disease spreads with devastating speed and silence, fear has become an unwelcome companion. As a beggar navigating this vulnerable society, you remain acutely aware of this danger, constantly skirting its unseen tendrils. In historical accounts, plagues feature prominently, shaping both memory and landscape. The most notorious of these, the Black Death, left indelible marks on Europe's psyche. Resurfacing with alarming frequency, such epidemics underscore nature's power to humble humanity with their visceral reality. These plagues cut through social echelons, sparing none, and did much to remind the medieval world of its fragility, though often with misplaced blame cast toward those on society's peripheries. Rumors of sickness spread swiftly among towns, whispered across market stalls and murmured during gathering. These conversations, alternately hushed and fevered, shed light on both fear and fascination with an invisible enemy. You learn to listen closely to these murmurs, distilling truth from hyperbole and informal education in survival amid chaos. A peculiar superstition emerges from these uncertain times, one that insists that hanging a bundle of posies around one's neck could fend off illness. This curious habit remains a whimsical nod to the inventive desperation of humans trying to control the uncontrollable. It's a reminder of the blend of belief and practicality that colors medieval life, where ancient botanicals are valued as much as hopeful intentions. Yet, amidst the fear, a fascinating transformation takes place. Society adapts. Travelers are often quarantined upon arrival, requiring time to observe whether they carry sickness within them. These measures, part practicality and part politics, add further layers to the complexity of navigating this landscape. Historians still argue whether such responses were effective or merely symbolic gestures to mollify public fear. Yet, in these acts, you see a struggle not just against disease, but against despair, a testament to human resilience. The streets are in a constant state of flux, with faces you once recognized gone having moved to safer pastures, others claimed by fate's hand. You notice how these departures create a tapestry of absence, embroidery of life's threads suddenly unraveling, forcing the community to rebalance itself amidst the losses. Amidst these enforced absences, you find that some souls stand resolute against despair, their empathy emerging as a lifeline for both strangers and friends lost to plague's shadow. Acts of courage and kindness surface like light through storm clouds, drawing comfort from shared grief, a quiet reminder of the indomitable heart of collective humanity. The day drifts toward dusk, painting the town in a gentle glow, its usual murmur subdued under an air of cautious watchfulness. It is in this stillness between breaths that you find the quietude needed to face such challenge as a moment to understand that hope remains, buoyed by the resilience coursing through cobblestones and hearths alike. As night falls, you draw security from the stars' indifference above, their constancy a balm against such uncertain earthly travails. You close your eyes, allowing dreams of health and prosperity to weave gently into your slumber. Guided by the tender strumming of crickets nocturne, you rest easily beneath the watchful sky, knowing that beneath fragile waves of mortality is the crescendo of life rekindled a melody, playing through the soul's enduring time's eternal cycle. As you awaken to the soft light of dawn, the medieval town slowly stretches into the day. For a beggar, the struggle to survive is only part of the reality. There's also the question of identity, a complex puzzle shaped by poverty, societal judgments, and the shadow of a life lived at the margins. This identity is both imposed and self-fashioned, hovering between necessity and perception. In the somber hours of early morning, as the town yawns itself awake, you contemplate what it means to be a nameless figure in a landscape that treats you as a silhouette against its vibrant canvas. Your sense of self, often dismissed by others, still clings to you, as tangible as the worn fabric of your clothes. The medieval world is structured like a rigid play, roles meticulously cast from birth nobles and peasants, merchants and craftsmen all divvied into their prescribed stations. A mainstream historical fact nestled in this structure is the notion that one's rank dictates life's trajectory. This cosmic order offers little room for deviation, especially along society's periphery, where beggars exist in a grey area both visible and invisible at once. As you wander, each face you encounter reflects a self-assurance born of belonging, of purpose prescribed by lineage and occupation. An unspoken certainty weaves through the crowd, while you, a mute presence, twist through gaps and sidestep judgments with the ease of practiced movement. Society's view of beggars is layered with stigma, often involving moral failure or divine retribution, shaping your existence into a role imposed by external forces as much as internal survival. Yet, in spite of this, a quirky resilience emerges, forming the crux of your daily resolve. It is a playful rebellion, a silent disagreement with preconceived labels. Historians still argue whether medieval societies viewed beggars as pitiable dependents or integral fixtures within their fabric. In a coquettish dance between acceptance and denial, you curl your identity into a rebellious badge, worn not on the sleeve, but within the heart. As the sun reaches its zenith, casting long shadows upon cobblestones, you join others in the square fellow wanderers, as anonymous as yourself, yet tethered by a shared journey. Together, amidst stalls boasting wares both exotic and mundane, you carve out your turf territory defined not by walls, but by fleeting moments of connection shared beneath the merchant's watchful gaze. Among such gatherings, the role of the storyteller emerges a lifelong entertainer of sorts, their tales spun as sinewy threads bridging divides. Through their stories, you become something beyond mere beggar. You become a keeper of untold histories, an extension of narratives carried from place to place. Your identity, like a river, is defined by movement forever, shifting, merging, redefining. The gravity of earned acceptance pulls steadily, drawing you inward, closer to a truer self gradually unveiled beneath layers rewoven by each day's journey. As evening descends, the stars appear as eternal witnesses, twinkling against the tapestry of night's sky, a sky untouched by the judgment of the ground. It's in these hours of quiet leisure, wrapped in the gentle hum of nocturnal musicians, that you let yourself unfurl into dreams unhindered by constraints of the waking world. With the town slowly cocooned in twilight's embrace, you find comfort in its embrace, acknowledging that identity is both a reflection and deflection. It's the interplay of reflection and shadow self-discovery mapped against cobbled avenues. You rest, allowing dreams to cradle the tender identity gently formed amidst the dust and hopes of Urea lullaby, kissed by whispering stars. Sleep invites a deep reflection, charted by the constellations of both self and society, weaving together the soft understanding that identity is less a destination than a perpetual unfolding a bridge hung across time, retracing steps and footprints beneath an ancient sky. As dawnlight spills over the medieval town, casting a gentle glow on familiar paths and quiet corners, you find solace in small rhythms of hope despite the constraints that define your world. Amidst the struggle for sustenance and identity, A surprising solution emerges within the shadows. The formation of beggar guilds and brotherhoods, unconventional refuge in a society often indifferent to solitary plight. In the welcoming hours of morning, when the town is a tapestry slowly unveiled by sunlight, you become aware of these quiet alliances with whom you share both space and purpose. The medieval landscape may appear uncompromising, but within its fabric lies room for subtle defiance beggar guilds, serving as makeshift families, offering support amid the relentless march of the world's indifference. The concept of guilds is inscribed in medieval life, each profession marked by its own circle of community, a mainstream historical fact, showing the conduct of tradespeople and artisans tightly regulated, providing security and stability in an unpredictable world. Nevertheless, the notion of a beggar guild adds a gently subversive twist, capturing the human desire for connection despite societal exclusion. In these brotherhoods, you discover companionship and camaraderie, an unspoken agreement, forged away from the judgment of the wealthy or the disdain of the indifferent. It's a sanctuary not built from stone, but from trust and mutual support. While society might have imposed roles or destinies upon you, within the guild, you are equal to your peers, bridging isolation with bonds both strong and tender. Interestingly, some beggar bands choose distinct insignia or secret symbols, quirky elements that act as their own form of heraldry. These signs, often inconspicuous to the untrained eye, speak volumes to those in the know, a language of safety, refuge, and belonging within the furtive glances of the everyday. Historians still argue about the formation of beggar guilds, whether they were organized in direct response to increased social pressures or as a natural evolution of shared struggle in adaptation to the times, where resilience thrived not in isolation but through collective strength. Whatever the impetus, the community becomes a living testament to the power of unity amidst adversity. As the sun arcs towards noon, you find yourself walking among other guild members, weaving tales and stories that anchor your shared experiences. These threads form an unbroken chain, their history, both written and oral, carried forward through conversations, gestures, and shared silences. No longer an outlier or a mere transient shadow, you are defined by your connection, your narrative, one of shared humanity woven anew each day, against the fervent backdrop of medieval life. In these interactions, there emerges a sense of identity larger than any single individual, a connection that transcends solitary understanding, uniting members into a collective force of quiet resistance. Within the rhythms of this unofficial guild, you become more than just beggars. You become custodians, stewards of a spirit unbroken and resilient. As twilight settles upon the town, casting gentle lavender hues through the marketplace, you let go of the day's toils, retreating into the restful solace of brotherhood. Around a flickering hearth, stories are spun, and songs shared, flames dancing like joyful spirits against the encroaching night. Beneath the stars' watchful vigil, you close your eyes, feeling the strength of community, woven through your thoughts, a net of solidarity, cradling the collective soul. As dreams descend, you drift into visions filled with fellowship, where hands are joined in gestures of unity and voices rise in harmony against uncertain futures. In that peaceful embrace, you find sleep a sanctuary, a sacred space, where every heart is lifted on dreams carried upon whispers of starlit skies. Here, the night hums with promises untold, offering respite and renewal to weary souls nestled within the tapestry of shared existence. With each breath, you welcome the quiet hope of belonging, gentle as morning dew kissed upon waiting fields. The crisp air of a new morning brushes against your skin as the medieval town awakens from slumber. In the gentle embrace of daybreak, your thoughts turn to the tools of survival that define your existence as a beggar. These are not the tools of a craftsman, forged in fire and honed with precision, but rather humble objects that serve as lifelines and shields against the world's harsh gaze. As you begin your day, you take stock of these possessions, each item carrying stories interwoven with practicality and a touch of superstition. In the absence of fixed abode or steady income, every small object becomes a vital asceta, symbol of both necessity and resilience. A well-worn wooden bowl, for instance, is more than just a vessel for food. It is an emblem of your resourcefulness, its smooth surface polished by countless hands exchanging alms for gratitude. This bowl is a companion on your quest through market squares and church courtyards, a silent plea that speaks of need, yet silently dignifies the transaction. In the folds of your garments, a small amulet rests, a whimsical nod to protective charm, fashioned from simple materials, yet imbued with personal sentiment. To the casual observer, it might seem a trinket, yet to you, it is a talisman woven with whispered prayers, a memento of connection to a benevolence as ancient as the stones beneath your feet. These objects form an ecosystem of survival, each piece modest yet imbued with significance. Some beggars even carry sheets of music or snippets of sacred texts, fragments that remind them of the world beyond immediate want-a-world, governed by art, spirituality, and the complexities of medieval philosophy. Used as props or tokens, these tools shape their journeys, melding practicality with intellectual and spiritual respite. Historians still argue about the significance of these objects, debating whether they were purely utilitarian or served as social bridgestokens linking those on society's edge with the greater community. Whatever their intended purpose, these items offer a lifeline, acting as symbols of hope and continuity, not unlike breadcrumbs left upon the labyrinthine pathways of life. Among your peers, each person's assemblage of items is distinct, collectively forming a mosaic of stories etched across the marketplace tableau. A weathered staff, a walking stick, lovingly whittled from a forgotten branch, becomes both support and symbol of pilgrimage in the greater journey. Handcrafted pouches woven from discarded fabric hold remnants of nature herbal remedies to soothe both body and spirit. Move through the streets, and you'll notice the glimmers of human invention reflected in the faces who share your path. The world may see you collectively as vagrants, but every beggar you encounter carries in their possessions an individual history, a unique fingerprint of survival. As noon casts its shadow upon the world, the market fills with its usual symphony, a swell of voices and conversations, like a living tapestry. The tools in your possession form a silent bridge to those around you, fostering interactions and inviting opportunities for connection. In sharing space and need, they transcend mere objects, becoming a vocabulary understood on a primal level. In the gentle ebb of afternoon light, you pause near the edge of town. You sit and assess the day's yield, the sun warm against your skin, reflecting on how such simple tools carry stories of the day, tales harvested through humility and perseverance. The quiet of this moment serves as a reminder that within the folds of your belongings lies the accumulation of past joys, sorrows, and resolved dreams woven together to spotlight a singular and resilient journey. As twilight descends, the day finally yields its furl to the embrace of night. You find solace in the delicate dance of shadows, trusting the small bounty of tools, both tangible and intangible, as guardians of your essence. Beneath the deepening sky, sleep softly gathers you, cradled in the interwoven fabric of stories untold and possibilities unfurling, a tender journey illumined by starlight awakened from slumber's tender cocoon. The first tendrils of dawn weave through the medieval town, drawing long shadows across cobblestone paths as the world stirs to life. In the calm of this early hour, the ancient art of storytelling unfurls its gentle, gracious salve for beggars like you, wandering souls who traverse the borders of society. Within tales you find refuge, an escape, and a bridge to worlds beyond this one. Storytelling is a cherished tradition, deeply woven into the tapestry of medieval life. It is an oral tapestry that transcends generation, time, and occupation, enriched by tales of wonder, morality, and adventure. In a time when the written word is a rare privilege, these spoken stories thrum with the heartbeat of culture and are keenly awaited by those seeking solace or escape. For you, storytelling is both an art and a necessity, a light-hearted whisper against the backdrop of life's challenges. It is the ultimate tool in your repertoire, a bridge that transforms moments of want into shared laughter, understanding, and fleeting bonds. Within these well-spun tales lies an enchantment, drawing listeners into webs spun of shared humanity. Amidst the hum of the marketplace, your voice becomes a thread in the chorus of daily life. You pass along legends much like a moving minstrel, your stories etching temporal imprints upon open hearts and welcoming spirits. Tales of knights and dragons, of cunning foxes and noble deeds, each evokes a sense of wonderment that transcends the environment where they are woven. They become a quilt of imagination and wisdom passed from lip to eager ear. Interestingly, the art of storytelling often embraces its root in reality, infusing charming embellishments with moral teachings. A smile touches your lips as you recall a quirky tale from the fringes of folklore, a mischievous sprite that spent its existence tricking the rich into giving their possessions to the poor. Such stories, while unable to alter the physical world, provided comfort and, on occasion, a momentary revolution in thought. Historians still argue whether these narratives served more as entertainment or subtle social commentary. Regardless of their purpose, they become vehicles for both distraction and subversion, a clever means of imparting wisdom, instilling hope, and stirring the soul to dream beyond constrained horizons. As your day unfolds, a gathering forms small circles of eager listeners, drawn together by the warmth of your tales. Their faces, innocent and aged alike, project receptive expressions as you weave your stories with flourish and cadence. Each inflection reverberates within the minds and hearts of your audience, drawing sighs and laughter in equal measure. It is in this shared moment that the burdens outside the tale momentarily dissolve. In that scene, the story connects lives together, forming a collective, comforting embrace around those gathered. For a beggar, these interactions disseminate currency beyond coin, a wealth of camaraderie that enhances the kinship among common experiences. As the sun descends toward the horizon, casting warm hues over the day's canvas, there comes an opportunity to share stories with newfound companions over shared morsels of bread. The flickering flames of an improvised hearth mirror the twinkle of starlit skies, their ethereal glow casting magic across eager faces, lighting up hopes and dreams once more. When night inevitably envelops the town, the echoes of your stories linger, a constellation of spoken truths and vibrant fantasies soothing the night's repose. Sleep pulls you beneath the comforting veil of darkness, where dreams form stories anew in realms hidden from the waking world. These dreams carry the laughter, heroism, and mysteries of tales told, spun like stars across a timeless tapestry. Embraced within this nocturnal symphony, you rest serenely, knowing that the whispered magic of storytelling is a gift to both giver and receiver, a nourishment that transcends hunger, illuminating a path through the shadows upon which each of your dreams delicately tread. And so, lulled by echoes of fables well remembered and dreams well imagined, you drift into slumber, secure beneath the narrative canopy of an ancient sky's whispers. The dawn filters through the haze of an early morning, unfurling quietly over the medieval town. As you adjust your bearings for another day, your thoughts wander toward the notion of work, a fundamental aspect of survival and identity that traverses all layers of society. Yet, as a beggar, your reality diverges from the more traditional labors that define the medieval world. The marketplace is abuzz with the familiar symphony of traders peddling their wares, artisans shaping wood and metal, and laborers hauling goods. In this dynamic setting, work is life, a dance orchestrated by necessity and custom. The clang of a blacksmith's hammer and the chatter of shopkeepers create an exuberant chorus, underscoring the town's persistent heartbeat. Historically, work regulated life's rhythm, the guilds of craftsmen and merchants bolstering a robust socio-economic structure. Every trade had its place, rules, and ranks, a structured world where the lines between labor and living were seamlessly entwined. Here, the notion of idle hands was one to be avoided, for work was as much a moral imperative as a practical necessity. Your existence, however, challenges the norm, sitting at the fringes of this well-defined system. Unlike your counterparts in structured trades, your day is dedicated to seeking not the next commission or market, but the next meal or place of rest. There's no apprenticeship or vocation, merely the pressing cycle of survival. Yet it's a curious thing, this distinction, for while some perceive begging as the absence of work, you understand it as a form of labor in its own right, a subtle, persistent, and often invisible job rooted in resilience and improvisation. A beggar's skill is an art, honed by intuition and the diplomacy of silence and gesture, a dialogue with the world requiring no words. A quirky element accompanying such existence emerges in the form of license to beg, a rare document granting permission to solicit alms in certain places. These licenses blur the line between legality and necessity, highlighting society's ambivalence toward its own marginalized figures. Historians still debate whether the medieval economy offered genuine room for upward mobility, or whether it locked people in roles dictated by birth. For you, the choice to beg, rather than pursue other available forms of labor, is a testament to this dynamic. Traditional work, though offering potential stability, often demands skills or privilege beyond your reach. The day continues, in its pattern of routine interspersed with surprise. As you pass through the market square, you observe the nuanced choreography of commercier dance dictated by coins and barter, where neighbors haggle and friend brings service to friend. The picture is complete with the diligent perseverance of weavers and millers, bakers and brewers, all contributing to the town's kaleidoscopic economy. Within that bustling scene, your presence as a beggar, though quiet, serves as a cultural touchstone, a subtle reminder of fortune's fickleness. The interactions that arise from such circumstances confer a societal balance rarely recognized, your role not entirely detached from the web of labor, but a delicate stitch holding its tapestry in place. As evening drapes its quiet cloak over the town, the clamor gradually subsides. With the sun dipping beyond the horizon, you gather with fellow beggars in a dimly lit nook. Here, stories and morsels are shared, each serving as balm for another day's toil in a world keen to forget its fringe. Wrapped in the hushed embrace of dark, you reflect upon the contrasts between lives of trade and those of quiet pleading. Both paths, though divergent, remain inexorably linked, written into the earth with the footsteps of generations past. As you drift into slumber, cradled by dreams of days hopeful and kind, you ponder the subtle prowess of survival, where work continues even in repose, a reminder of life's undying cadence, sung softly beneath stars, steadfast in an eternal sky. In this suspended peace, you are a traveler among celestial whispers, content in the story of one more day, collected into the hopes as vast as the universe above. As dawn filters through the medieval town, casting a gentle glow over familiar streets, your routine begins anew. Yet your inner world remains a tapestry of vibrant thoughts and latent dream. Beneath the visible layers of struggle and survival, the beggar's inner world is rich and intricate, filled with aspirations and reflections that extend beyond life's immediate hardships. In the tranquility of this early hour, you find a moment of quiet introspection a luxury amid the day's struggles as the inner self unwinds with the unfolding light. Though your existence is defined by the need to sustain oneself materially, it is the landscape within that offers profound sanctuary and escape. Here, you are free to wander the corridors of imagination and contemplation, exploring aspirations that transcend the confines of your role. A mainstream historical fact tempers this inner exploration. Medieval society viewed life as a divinely ordered hierarchy, with each person's place seemingly fixed by providence. Such views, while pervasive, did not preclude the possibility of inward journeys. Whether through prayer, meditation, or storytelling, people found ways to enrich their lives with meaning, seeking truths beyond the tangible. As you navigate the morning bustle, your gaze occasionally falls on the spire of a distant church or the silhouette of rolling hills beyond, a reminder of the vast world that calls, teasing the boundaries of your known universe. In your mind's eye, these images intertwine with dreams of places unknown, adventures untold, and a life unfettered by the weight of daily survival. Amidst your wanderings, you pause at places imbued with beauty, a flower weaving its way through a crumbling stone wall, sunlight catching the dew on a spider's web. These modest wonders animate your inner sanctum, fostering a sense of connection to the delicate interlace of life in all its forms. There's a quirky resilience within this introspective journey, an acknowledgement that even when circumstances fail to nurture the body, they cannot claim the spirit. In medieval towns, the narratives of saints and philosophers occasionally find their way to the most unexpected corners, clinging to the soul like seeds in wind, infusing the inner world with stories of enlightenment and hope. Historians still argue whether such contemplative pursuits offered genuine solace or merely a palliative for those resigned to lives of restriction. For you, however, the internal voyage is both refuge and rebellion, a silent and personal assertion of life's depth beyond its surface constraints. Throughout the day, your conversations with fellow travelers reveal shared dreams-whispered hopes of discovery and redemption, the quiet yearning for a life renewed. These exchanges, though ephemeral, root your aspirations in a communal web and ground them in a reality tethered by mutual understanding. As the sun arcs overhead, its light mellowing into afternoon, you find a secluded spot by the river's edge, where water sings its perpetual song. Here, in the gentle murmur of the stream, your thoughts flow alongside, weaving through fantasies of sailing ships, lush meadows, and distant lands a tapestry, embroidered with longing and cherished imaginings. The peaceful lull of the river offers a momentary respite from the town's clamor, drawing you further into the embrace of dreams. It is here that your heart leaps with quiet joys, untouched by others' prejudices, fortified against an often harsh world. When the evening stretches across the sky, its hues echo the colors of dreams. You gather with others beneath a canopy of stars. These companions, each carrying their own vistas within, form a patchwork of individual lights, merged into a constellation of shared humanity. As night deepens, you find solace in embracing your dreams as embers that warm the soul. You curl beneath the blanket of twilight, allowing your inner world to spill into reverie, folding gently into the universe's endless possibilities. In this cocoon of tranquil wonder, sleep beckons softly, drawing you into realms where dreams unfurl without boundary, a soul set adrift on night's sea, buoyed by hope and the potential of a new dawn. Here, amid the whispers of starlit skies, you find rest, cradled by inner dreams as vast and inviting as the constellations above. And so, with starlight as your guide, you drift into a slumber woven with strands of imagination, where each thread holds the promise of dawn anew. As the first faint light of dawn glimmers on the horizon, the medieval town slowly stirs to life, and your thoughts turn to the possibilities that lie in the intersection of hope and reality. For a beggar, the future is a path as unpredictable as the shifting winds, yet it carries the steady pulse of aspiration and the harsh echo of stark truths. The medieval world is largely a tapestry of immovable structures, where one's birth determines much of one's destiny, a mainstream historical fact that sees roles passed down through generations like heirlooms. Yet, for those on society's fringe, the question of future prospects is fraught with both potential and limitation. You are tethered to the present by immediate needs, but it is the allure of what might be that propels you forward. As you wander through the town's awakening streets, each step is a meditation on the delicate balance between dream and reality. You weave between market stalls where hopeful vendors set out their wares, observing life's symphony of motion and exchange. Your journey is a quest for survival, but with it comes the dream of permanence, the possibility of a new role within the town's complex fabric. Your eyes might glance skyward, tracing the arcs of birds in flight, avatars of freedom and journey. There's a whimsical comfort in imagining their unbounded paths as metaphors for your own potential, a future not defined by circumstance, but by an unfettered spirit willing to soar beyond the visible horizon. Yet, historians still argue about the true scope of social mobility in medieval times. Opportunities for transformation were few, and while tales of rags to riches stir the imagination, reality often tethers daring dreams to tangible limits. The routes to change often traverse through luck, providence, or the short-lived ripple of societal upheaval. Within your circle, each companion carries their own tale spun from both past and potential future. Their dreams intertwine with fears of remaining forever on society's margins, caught in the ceaseless web woven by fate. Conversations drift to possibilities, learning a trade, joining a pilgrimage, or catching the benevolent eye of a patron willing to offer a chance, a small yet radiant beacon amidst prevailing shadows. In the afternoon sun, you pause to reflect upon stories of others who ventured beyond these boundaries, pursuing fortunes in distant lands, tales punctuated by hard-won victories and heart-rending returns. Such stories, often imbued with hope and folly in equal measure, are touchstones against which your own ambitions are measured. Yet, amidst this reflection, lies the steadfast truth that the world beyond your immediate vision holds both promise and peril, its uncharted paths both enticing and daunting. It is this dichotomy that embodies the essence of future prospects, a blend of dreams and determination, tempered by reality's firm hand. The promise of change may be a distant shore, yet the horizon beckons with quiet insistence. Your journey is an unending dialogue between resignation and resolve, where the canvas of what might be is forever waiting for its stroke. He's a testament to human resilience, etched into each beat of your heart. As twilight gently falls, swathing the town in the soft glow of eventide, you find solace in shared ambitions warmed by the fireside. By night, the air is fragrant with camaraderie, each ember a reflection of dreams spent together beneath a sky that offers no judgment but bears witness to human tenacity. In the enveloping calm, beneath that celestial embrace, sleep beckons amid hope's whisper and courteous reality. You drift gracefully into the embrace of dreams. Every breath, a reminder of tomorrow's possibility, a tapestry of paths yet untrod. A promise as constant as the night sky. Here, where the earth's turning murmurs of cycles renewing, you rest assured that morning follows night, and with it, the promise that each day dawns anew, spangled with the golden threads of undiscovered future, intertwined with the wisdom of ages past. As you drift on the seas of slumber, the symphony of stars keeps time with your dream's gentle rhythm. The medieval town basks in the soft glow of dawn, with the morning mist gently caressing the cobblestones and rooftops. There's a serene quietness in the air, a sense of anticipation that lies between the remnants of night and the burgeoning day. For you, a beggar woven into this ancient tapestry, it is a moment to reflect on the journey, a journey defined by resilience, hardship, and fleeting glimpses of kindness. As you awaken to this new day, the rhythm of life persists, a familiar symphony of expectation and reality weaving through the waking streets. Your existence is a mosaic, each piece a memory of survival against the backdrop of a world that oscillates between the mercy and indifference of its inhabitants. Yet, despite the visible struggles, your spirit remains unbowed, buoyed by the knowledge that life, in all its complexity, persists. The town pulses with life, unfolding like a well-rehearsed play, a tapestry of rituals, the opening of market stalls, the quiet prayers whispered in the solitude of churches. It's a delicate dance of roles, each person moving in a choreography honed by centuries of tradition and necessity. Historically, the medieval world offered little in the way of social mobility, but it thrummed with the stories of individuals who shaped their destinies against improbable odds. As a beggar, you stand on the cusp of these narratives, your role both defined and free from definition, a paradox of existence where hope and reality intersect in the ever-present now. As the morning sun gently warms the earth, you wander through the familiar paths, the sounds of a bustling town an accompaniment to your thoughts. The cobblestones beneath your feet hold stories and echoes of those who moved before you, a testament to human endurance and the ceaseless march of time. You pause by the river's edge, where the water reflects the clear sky, drawing you into its gentle embrace. The world seems to slow in this moment of introspection, each ripple a reminder of life's perpetual flow. As your thoughts drift on the water's surface, you savor the profound simplicity of being, a moment unburdened by expectation, where dreams dance lightly upon the morning breeze. In the quietude, a gentle understanding unfolds, a realization that despite the road behind and the path ahead, the essence of your journey lies in the moments between, the quiet interludes that bind past and future. It is here, within the heart's contemplative stillness, that the truth of existence resides. As the day deepens, the streets become a tapestry of connections, where each thread contributes to the rich fabric of life. Your presence, though often overlooked, is an integral part of this weavier, humble but essential thread in the grand design of being, where survival and dreams intertwine. As twilight descends upon the town, casting a soft golden glow over the day's remnants, you gather with companions, sharing stories beneath the stars, a gentle homage to camaraderie and shared humanity. The evening air hums with potential, each flicker of firelight casting shadows that tell tales of hope and endurance. As the world around you settles into the quiet embrace of night, you lay beneath the celestial dome, the stars twinkling like ancient sentinels above. You find comfort in their steadfast presence, their light a reminder of continuity and solace. In the stillness, you close your eyes, allowing sleep to envelop you in its tender arms. Your dreams, woven from the threads of history and hope, accompany you into the night. Here, amidst the whispers of the stars, you find rest, a respite from life's tumult, assured that the dawn will gently weave its way into another day. And so, lulled by the rhythm of eternity's gentle cadence, you drift into slumber, heart cradled by the universe's embrace. Sweet dreams.